Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're going to look at a game from 1995 from New York City, the PCA World Championship qualification tournament, which was one of a series of events designed to come up with the challenger for then World Chess Champion Garry Kasparov. Here with the white pieces is a young 15-year-old Peter Leko, and with the black pieces is international master at the time Maurice Ashley. Um, in 1994, Peter Leko had become the world's youngest grandmaster at that time when he achieved his final grandmaster norm at only 14 years, 4 months, and 22 days of age. So this is the next year. Peter Leko was 15 years old with the white pieces going against the young and hungry Maurice Ashley. Maurice whips out his favorite Sicilian defense, and we go into this open Sicilian. And here we have the dreaded Richter-Rouser attack from Peter Leko. E6, Queen D2, very sharp variation, and the formation from the white side looks very similar to that of the Yugoslav attack, which is often used against the dragon, as we have the bishop, uh, dark square bishop on g5 here instead of say e3, but you can see now the familiar position. Queen c7, f3, and as a matter of fact, the white side looks exactly like the white side in the Yugoslav attack variation of the dragon. So there you go. Save some time. Play this variation against the this variation of the Sicilian, the Skyfinagan variation, and also play it against the dragon. Save yourself some time. This is a very aggressive setup by white, and as with most setups that are very aggressive, they can be double-edged. So you can win very quickly, but you can also end up in a loss position very quickly. So if you like to go for broke in your games and play very aggressively, this is definitely the type of chess you should try to train in. So here, after f3, solidifying the e pawn in the center, also um, preparing moves like g4, h4, g5, etc. Blowing black off the board on the king side. Black also prepares his counterplay on the queen side with a6. He wants to play b5, b4. Also utilize the open c file to attack white. And usually these kind of opposite wing castling games are usually full of fireworks. All right, because of the imbalanced nature of the position. All right, so both sides are attacking here, but note white has some more space, a little bit more space, and has a lead in development. These factors are very important. Black, for his side, he has an open C file and he has a pawn preponderance in the center, which makes it difficult for white to use these useful squares in the center. Rook b8 is played. So we can see Maurice wants to play b5, b4 immediately. Now here, he didn't play b5 right away. That could be meant by knight takes c6, queen takes c6, e5, whereby you can have some troubles on this d file here. So notice that black can't capture. It would simply be mate. So after e5, black will be forced to play some nonsensical moves like knight d5 or something like that. So he just takes some time to build his position. Now, if white were to opt for a move like knight takes c6, after b takes c6, we have the rook beautifully placed on the b file here. Leko displays king b1. Thematic move in such positions when you castle queenside is to move the king over one more square. Bishop e7, and now g4. b5, let the games begin. Here it is, knight takes c6, queen takes c6, and now we have h4. Maurice continues with his aggressiveness and plays b4. Now, these type of moves are double-edged. Of course, we all know that once you move pawns forward, you can't move them back. So when attacking in this way, you have to make sure that your calculations are accurate, uh, and that they're going to serve the purpose that you intended them to. Because what happens is that you wind up with weak pawns in the end game if the game makes it that far. Right, your pawns will become targets right after your attack has stalled out. All right, so Maurice plays b4. This intention of knocking this knight away. Now, Leko plays the cool and calm knight e2, and this is why I don't like the move b4, because um, it's not like the white knight doesn't have a good square to go to. After knight e2, he's gonna end up here. At least he's threatening to come here in the game further up the board. Okay, and if he tried to play a move like e5, not only would the d6 pawn become weak, and also the d5 square, this bishop becomes bad also in the process, and all that just to try to stop this knight from getting here. That would prove dubious also, because the knight would then just shift to g3, and then you have to worry about the knight ending up on f5, and if there's an exchange on f5, now the g file is open and white can use that for an attack. So all in all, I did not like the move d5, although it is thematic in Sicilians. But just because a move is thematic doesn't mean that you don't have to apply proper timing, and timing is very important. When do you play d5? So obviously, black thought this was the time to strike with d5. But in hindsight, being 2020, just simply instead of playing b4 here, and let me go back. Actually, if the knight takes 6, queen takes 6, queen takes c6, h4, b4. I was talking about pushing the pawns forward and how this knight had an easy square to go to in e2. That's why I didn't really like that move at first, because I didn't see b4 really accomplishing anything besides driving the knight to a better square ultimately. So instead of a move like that and weakening the pawns, better is knight d7, anticipating this type of attack. That way, if g4 comes, black can strive to keep the position closed with a move like h5 after g4. Okay. Of course, here in this position, tactically, you can get away with it. H takes g because the rook here is hanging. All right. This would all be forced, and of course, black doesn't have to participate in capturing. He could just simply go back here, because if he captures the bishop, then this pawn will become weak. So you just go back here, and after this move, then black would be forced after, say, b4, knight e2, and then e5 to protect this pawn, which is a little better for white. Right? We get problems that we already discussed. The knight d7. Again, if a move like g5. h5 keeps the position closed here. And again, g6 is possible, with the idea of weakening the e6 square. And such are the tactics in the Sicilian, right? Things get very sharp and complicated. So, however, in the game after h4, b4 was played, and knight e2, and then Maurice opted for d5. Um, Here, knight d7 is possible here again, right? Delaying things, and then perhaps knight g3, knight e5, and of course this has to be addressed, and bishop e2. So d5 was played, and Leko hit hard with knight d4, queen c7, and now this tactic e5, exploiting the fact that the queen and rook are lined up together. Now this changes the nature of the position. Not only is black's attack stalled on the queen side, but white's attack is accelerated as he gains more space. So this was kind of the fallacy of d5 at that time. So knight d7, f4, and of course you see white has developed an initiative, knight c5, trying to create problems maybe coming in here. Bishop d3, h5, and Leko plays a strong move, queen g2. Right, saying, hey, go ahead, open up, let's open up the position now. Right, you're behind in development, your pieces are awkwardly placed, let's go for it. Let me just go back, I didn't show you the variation here. Yeah, if queen takes here, then you can see the rook and queen lined up, and just simply bishop f4 would win the rook back here. So that's why Maurice couldn't take, he just had to play knight d7. So f4, knight c5, bishop d3, guarding e5, h5, queen g2, and now bishop f8. Why bishop f8? Because the threat is to play g takes h5, and then grab this pawn right here. So Maurice blocks this pawn, and now g takes, rook takes. So now we have the position opening up, and notice this is just a simple uh, aggregation of small advantages and chess principles being put together, right? We know that when you are ahead in development, you should what? Open the position. So we see that taking place, right? In Leko's moves, right? We see that, Black's pieces, not only is he behind the development, but the coordination is off, right? The rook is, one rook is on the H file on H5, the other rook is on B8. The queen is blocked in, the bishops are bad. So we can see that this lack of coordination, this lack of development, this should point clearly in the direction of opening up the position. So that's what we see Leko doing here, right? It's nothing, it's not magic. It's just like following just logic and common sense in the position. Now bishop e2, preserving the bishop here and attacking the rook. Rook h8, and now bishop f3 again, keeping this knight off the square. Knight a4, and Leko in his style, right? Now he's young, he's 15, but he's already has this like signs of the style that he would be known for, right? This cautious technical style here. He plays bishop c1. He's making sure there's not going to be any sacrifices on b2. Everything's protected. Right? He knows that black is in trouble here. a5. And again, black's attack is just too slow here. He's already, on guard for moves like knight c3. Sorry about that. He plays king a1. Right, just in case. It's not a threat here at this point, but just in case. So he plays in this Karpovian style where he gets rid of all of the opposition, all of the possibilities of the opponent. Right, he kills all of the potential in your position, and now he's gonna go along with his plan. So there's nothing for this knight to do now. So Maurice plays knight c5, goes back. So now Leko plays f5. Again, just leaving this pawn on prise. This time, it's not the bishop that's going to strike the blow. If queen takes e5 here, it's not going to be the bishop this time, but simply a fork. Knight c6. So he still can't take it. So a4, f takes e6, f takes e6, and Leko, the white, the white position is just too strong, and his attack is just too fast. He has too much of a lead in his attack, right? And this is the basic theme of opposite wing attacks. Is basically who gets there first. So usually there's sacrifices involved and things like that. But as you can see, Black still has the pawns on the A and B file. He's far away from being able to open the white king over there on the queen side and pose any danger. He needs like several moves in a row to be able to do that. Whereas on the other side of the board, we can see the H, G, and F files are all pretty much open or semi-open for that matter, and the king is very accessible to white here. Rook b6, and now bishop h5, just tactics. And again, when your opponent has bad pieces, or the coordination is bad, or behind the development, there's always tactics like this available in the position. And here's just another example. Bishop b5 check. So of course you guys are like, wait a minute, why can't he just take that? Well, if rook takes h5, just simply queen g6. There's no defense to this rook right here, right? And if a move like king d7, for example, the rook can be taken. The bishop can be taken. Rook takes f8. If he plays king e7, okay, that's gonna be mate in 3. Okay, after queen g5. Queen f7. Sorry. Okay, so this is why bishop h5 check is possible. Maurice has to play d8. The other bishop comes in. Bishop g5. Bishop e7, and now we had this theme coming up of a piece being overworked, right? Pin them and win them. So here's the pin. Rook f7 now. So now the queen, if the bishop moves, then the queen is under attack. Plus, this bishop is pinned anyway to the king, so the bishop can't move off the diagonal anyway. So at the rook f7, rook e8, last sign of defense. And again, in these bad positions, there's always tactics available. You just have to be strong enough to find them. If you're not strong enough to find them, then you have to study, tactics more. Go over more games and tactical outcomes and positions. And here the move is very simple. This rook takes e8, forcing the e7, forcing the black rook into another pin. And here Maurice resigned. Right? Why did he resign? Because if he captures rook takes e7, there's two continuations. One is just a move like queen f3. Okay. This fancy move is knight f5 because this is more forcing. Because now you're threatening just to capture the rook outright, which forces this exchange. E takes f5, which in turn weakens d5. Queen takes d5 check, and let's say knight d7, for example. Then you have queen g8 mate. All right, and that would be the end of the game. So very very strong game by young Peter Leko, 15 years old. I guess international master Maurice Ashley in New York at the PCA qualifier in 1995. So I hope you enjoyed that game. Please support my channel. Please donate to my channel if you can spare it. I would greatly appreciate it. And I would love to hear your comments below about this game. And if you have any other games or subjects you would like to see, please let me know in the comments. And definitely check my channel for other chess videos. There's all kind of videos on openings, end games, middle games, probably about over 500 videos. So any subject that you could think of, I'm sure I have videos on it. For example, I have a video called the Albin Counter Gambit according to Alexander Morozevich, where I take every single game that I could find with Alexander Morozevich playing the black side of the Albin Counter Gambit, and I analyze all of those games. And that video is probably about I don't know, hour and a half long or something like that. I have another video, the Shigoran defense, according to Alexander Morozevich. Again, same thing, analyzing all those games. I also had the Marshall Gambit according to Levon Aronian, where I go over all his games in the Marshall Gambit. Okay, so I have all types of instructions, on end games, middle games, openings, how to learn openings, how to make a plan in chess. A lot of people don't know how to make plans in chess. Um, and what I mean by that is like if there's tactics on the board, yes, they can see the tactics, they can find the combinations. But when it's just a dry position, say in like a symmetrical English, okay, what do I do? There's no tactics. What do I call it? What do you do when there's nothing to do? Basically, how do you make a plan? Right? How do masters make a plan? So I have videos on that. How do you make a plan in chess? So again, go through the channel, check it out, and like I said, I'm sure you'll find something you like. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed the game.